الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله ونتوب إليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان وسلم تسليما كثيرا وبعد. Continuing on in our study of Fawaid Taqwa by Imam bin Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala, the way that we're going to study, because the Shaykh does not really, he just gives like titles and then brings the ayat, bring verses from the Quran. So there isn't a lot of Arabic that we'll deal with, except of course the ayat. Most of the treatise is ayat. So of course we'll read the Quranic verses, and I am going to try to modify my teaching, as some people have pointed out, which is rightfully so, that we shouldn't be so. I want the Arabic to be a benefit, even with my limited Arabic. It helps me to maintain my Arabic, as I've mentioned, and sometimes we can learn new words and new mustalahat, deen terms. But for some people that can put them off. So we'll try to keep a balance. I think that's the best way to say that. I will try to be as balanced and not be excessive in translating things that might not need to be read in Arabic, but sometimes for the flow. And the reason also, I think, is when you study the Arabic, you see how ablag, how that it's actually very exquisite, some of the terms that you can't. So then you translate it to complement, because translating, it's for the people benefiting, but when you read it, it actually helps to really kind of strengthen you, because you see how that even your translation is not articulating it in the way in which you really want to express it. So anyhow, this is the way that we'll study this, and we're going to keep it in short lessons, hopefully 5 to 7 minutes each lesson. So here, let's go ahead and begin, bi'idhnillah. So then, Bin Uthaymeen, he began, he said, فَإِنَّ تَقْوَى اللَّهِ خَيْرٌ مَا تَزَوَّدْ بِهِ الْعَبْدِ لِمَصَالِحِ دِينِهُ وَدُنْيَاهُ. So Bin Uthaymeen, he said, so verily taqwa, this God-fearfulness, taqwa, and we've mentioned already the ta'rif, the definition of taqwa, meaning to adhere to the commandments of Allah and avoid His prohibitions. This is a general meaning. That he said, so verily, fearing Allah is the best provisions that a servant can prepare or attain. And this is for the rectification of his deen, meaning his religion, and his dunya, meaning this worldly life. And then he says, وَهِيَ أَنْ يَتَّخِذَ وَقَايَ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ عَذَابِ اللَّهِ بِفِعْلِ أوامره واجتناب نواهيه حتى يكون قائما بعبودية الله حقيقة فالتقوى هي الدين كله وقد رتب عليها من الفوائد كثيرة في الدنيا والآخرة وما هو معلوم وسنذكر فوائدها بحول الله تعالى التي استخرجناها من القرآن الكريم. Bin Uthaymeen says about taqwa, he says, and it is taking a waqaya, putting something between you, like a shield between the person and the punishment of Allah. All of us need this protection. And he said, by doing the commands, Allah's commands, and avoiding His prohibitions, until a person is upright with regards to the servanthood, or the ubudiyah, being obedient, being a slave to Allah, in a true slave of Allah. So I want to stop there. So we mentioned the definition of taqwa. And he said, I love this ibara where he said, حَتَّى يَكُونْ قَائِمًا بِعُبُودِيَّةِ اللَّهِ حَقِيقَةً. So that it's practicing the commandments of Allah and avoiding His prohibitions until one becomes straight. Meaning that the more we're practicing the taqwa in our daily lives, that we're doing those things, we're doing the commands of Allah, we're praying, we are giving sadaqah, and all those things we're commanded with, and we're avoiding the prohibitions. The more we avoid those prohibitions, it's as if it builds up a momentum, and it begins to make you straight. And you can see those people, some people you can see, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best of judges of them, but when you meet people, certain people that you see the athara taqwa on them. I've met some, in my travels, I've met some amazing people by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it doesn't matter. You could find them in America, you could find them in the UK, you could find them in France and Germany, you can find them in Yemen, you can find them in Saudi Arabia, whatever. But what I've seen, especially with the ulama and some of the ubad, the ulama meaning the scholars, and the ubad meaning some people who just, you can see they just live a humble, simple life, and they just want to worship Allah, and they just want to die on Islam and Iman. So you can see that they're always in the masjid. Sometimes in some of these countries, like in Yemen and Saudi Arabia, and people go to Egypt and stuff, and in the West as well, you find those people who are, for every salat, you find the one who cleans the masjid in America. He's always there. I can think of a brother in Seattle that is always, he's not even from that race of people, that nationality, because the masjid is predominantly a particular nationality. And this brother is actually from West Africa. That masjid is actually, the people in it are Cham. They are an Asian people from Vietnam and Cambodia. They were a kingdom, the Champa people. And this brother from West Africa, in cooperating with his brothers from Champa, which all of us, pray in this masjid, you see and Allah is the best of judges, but you see the light of Iman on his face. And when he greets everyone, when you see people from everywhere coming in, the light he gives you, you might be depressed, whatever, but when he says, Assalamu alaikum, brother, and reaches over to grab your hand, you feel that. And this is, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, the signs of taqwa and istiqamah. You see, he loves Islam. When some people tell you, I know another brother, and I'm just going to give you these examples to make it practical for us. Another brother who was there, and one of the reasons I took Shahada, and he was a part of that process anyway. We used to work together. He helped me go to the masjid the first time, and I've seen him now 20 plus years later. And I remember one of the last times I saw him, and he's older than me, and he was introducing me to someone else in the community, and then he began crying, as a grown man. And for a lot of us, this is tough. We don't cry very easily. And he began crying, and he said, this brother here, I remember when he wasn't Muslim, and now he, has studied something about Islam, and he gives the khutbah here and there, and he teaches here and there, and he was crying, And this is from fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's from that athar of Iman. Iman has become so important to the people. So this is that istiqamah we want. So the point being here, habitifillah, he said, by doing the commands of Allah, avoiding the prohibitions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by that consistency, it helps a person to be upright. And then you'll see that they don't the person like this, we all dhikr tanfa al-mu'mineen, that remembrance, it benefits the believers, to be reminded, to hear a ayat, to hear a dars, to hear whatever. But the one who's on istiqamah like this, who's actually very straight, they're not wobbly, they don't easily fall. And that's the point I want to make, that someone like you and like myself, I can speak about. I can't speak about everyone else, but I'm weaker. I'm weak. We become shaky, you know. But when you see someone who's practicing taqwa like that, and you can see that athar, that ta'thir, that effect from always trying to avoid the prohibitions of Allah and doing the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you see the uprightness in their actions. And you can see it, and then they're not easily shaken. When their iman becomes less, they don't just fall off the planet, fall off into major sins. They might slip a little bit. He might be late to the masjid. Where some people, you see, they disappear from the masjid completely. You see them 6 months later. Or some people don't come back. Some people, you see them out in the nightclubs. You see them doing this. And so this is the point, is that taqwa, by practicing it and putting that waqaya between you and the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's as if it builds up momentum and brings up your istiqamah. So then bin Uthaymeen, he said, فَتَقْوَى هِيَ الدِّينِ. He said, and taqwa is the whole religion, subhanallah. Some of the people, and I'm sorry to keep pushing these issues, but some of the people, it's really true, because you have a lot of people who are new Muslims really getting into what they believe is jarh wa ta'dil. They believe that this is the science of criticizing men and so forth, when this actually was with the ruwat, as Imam, how many Imma, Sheikh Salih bin Fawzan, Sheikh Imam Abdul Muhsin al-Abbad, they tell us this was the science of criticizing the narrators, okay? And this is, you find some differences between the Salafin with regards to this concept, but we know that refuting Ahl Bid'ah, that will remain. My point is you have people who focus all their energy instead of on taqwa, because what does bin Uthaymeen say, and what it comes from the Salaf, and it comes from the Kitab and the Sunnah, for taqwa hiya deen kullu, that fearing Allah is the whole religion. The whole religion's built on that, because if you don't fear Allah, and you can say anything, and you can involve yourself in anything, and you can curse anyone, and you can fight and attack anyone, and you can make takfir of anyone and whatever with ease, where's that taqwa? Where's that effect of taqwa Allah Azza wa Jal? And then he said, and there are so many benefits that come from taqwa, in this life as well as the hereafter. And he said, and this is well known. And he said, and we're going to mention some of these benefits by the permission of Allah that we have derived from the Quran. So this whole book is called Fawaid at-Taqwa min al-Quran al-Kareem. It's called the benefits of taqwa from the Quran. And we ask Allah the Almighty to accept our good and forgive our evil. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad.